My name is Regan. It's a 1991 Acura NSX.
My name is Cooney. This is a 98 Acura NSX.
It was a tough decision at first. You have the opportunity to buy a newer car or an older version of the same car essentially, and just eventually spend more money on the older car to get to a break-even point when you can compare it to a new car.
My car is a little bit newer than Regan's. I did buy this car primarily because it's a car that I can daily and take to the track and really have no problem with it. I've never really had any serious issues with the car. And that's also one of the reasons that I've decided to keep the power output relatively close to stock, is I want to maintain that reliability. I think Regan's done an excellent job of building his car in a way where he's really raised the level of the car, both power-wise, suspension, everything. I personally don't have the patience or expertise to really, build a car that way. So I'm sort of relying on what Honda's already built.
I'm just saying, what's interesting is that because we're such good friends and we do come up here, 3 out of 5 times together, and we have the opportunity to really just switch off cars. So I'm sort of allowed the freedom to go one way with my car, he goes to the other way with his car, and we really get to experience each other's cars either at the track or up here, and you really get a good flavor for the different ways you can sort of tune or build an NSX. I think that's a great luxury to have. For my 1991 Acura, someone shopping for one of these can have a few different options. What I did with mine was I kept the JDM 5-speed in here. That's got the shorter gears, added a little bit more power, about 80 horsepower or so, with a Comtech supercharger. We never got the Type R over here, and I wanted to create some flavor of that because I really do appreciate Honda's engineering, and they put a lot of engineering into this, and all it takes is a knucklehead like me to really screw all that stuff up. So we wanted to try to keep it as streetable as we could. It's not, it's obviously not a race car, and just wanted to, every Friday or so take it to work and enjoy it, but still that's next day on a Saturday, take it to Willow Springs, and with just a few minor clicks and adjustments here and there, you could really have a good time with it. I think a lot of the more underrated things about tuning these days is how good a set of really good dampers and spring combinations as well as sway bar combinations can be. And so we set up a set of JRZ RS Pros on this car. It's got an external reservoir system that's two-way adjustable. And once you start wanting to go faster and you're wanting to take the turns faster with better technology tires, then you're gonna eventually waterfall into wanting more suspension or even wanting more power like I did. In terms of reliability, all the items that have broken on this car have probably been self-induced, meaning I've added a part on it that maybe didn't quite work so well or stressed out another part. Cooney's a good friend of mine, and he's seen a lot of the headaches I've had to go through with this. So he's seen through all the cycles I've been through with this car, and I would add this and it would break that and change whatever, and it would cause another issue somewhere else. But if you keep it NA, and you can really build a nice car out of the NSX, just keep it naturally aspirated and really take advantage of what Honda really built into the car, which is that high revving motor. You lose some of that feel with the supercharger, to be honest, in my opinion.
This is a 98 Acura NSX. It's a NA2, 3.2 liter 6-speed, naturally aspirated, some small modifications, brakes, suspension, chassis, but for the most part, I've decided to keep it stock, just enjoy the naturally aspirated high revving motor. And I was actually surprised at the high level of performance that a 20-year-old car had. So my big project for this car was updating the differential. I put in a OS Giken LSD with a 4.4 final, which is significantly bigger than the original 4.0 final that the car comes with. That'll bring the gears a lot closer together. It does help substantially, gain some much needed traction coming out of corners and having more control there. Changing the differential on this car is quite a big deal. It's very similar to a front wheel drive car where the whole transmission has to come apart. So I took the opportunity to replace all the synchros, all the bearings, WPC treat, everything, and put it all back together. The difference is amazing, and that was sort of my version of just updating this car without going the power adder route. I think the short gears work generally well everywhere. There may be instances where, depending on what track you're at, it just doesn't match the layout of the corners or flow very well, where sometimes you'll be hunting for gears. But for the most part, I think the extra acceleration you get and the option of being in higher or lower gear helps. Even though on paper it doesn't have that much power, it's actually a very potent power plant. It's a very well-balanced car.
The opportunity to drive two completely different versions of the same car is a rare one, and one we hadn't planned to squander. So rather than a simple canyon drive, we decided to take these fine examples of Japanese engineering to a Speed District track day at Willow Springs.
This is a 1991 Acura NSX with a lot of work done to it. It is a 3-liter V6, mid-mounted, transverse, basically a Honda Accord engine, but this one's got a supercharger on it, which brings the power output from the stock 270 right up to around 350 horsepower. The power delivery is great. I mean, 350 doesn't sound like much, but this is a pretty light car, very progressive, accelerates like a Ferrari 355. Not a bad thing. The 91s have no power steering, which can be a bit heavy in the parking lot, but is rather nice on the track. The steering feel is just spectacular. Everything comes through the wheel. Brakes are very effective. 4-piston all around, big drilled rotors, and of course we're on our compound tires, which in this car makes a massive difference. Now, is this the fastest thing I've ever driven? No, not even close. But it doesn't have to be great. It's easy to drive, it's forgiving, it's got a ton of grip, it's got a lot of feel, easy to heel toe. The clutch can be a bit chattery at very low speeds, but out of the track it's really nice to rev match, very instant grabbing. It's geared really nice for this course. There's a lot of second gear, a lot of third gear, but it seems like in these corners I've got just enough gear to make it to that corner without shifting. We're gonna see how the 6-speed is different from that. This should be very interesting because this car is about 30 to 35 grand for a clean one, whereas the newer car could be 50 to 80 grand for a clean one. So, let's see where you should spend your money. Or is there a winner? I don't know. Okay, this is the 2nd generation NSX. Now the first thing you notice in this car, power steering. Very easy in parking lots, very light, very little resistance. I have a 3.2 liter naturally aspirated engine in the back with nothing but an exhaust on it, 6-speed gearbox, coilover suspension, got upgraded brakes by Spoon, and this one, unlike the other car, has road tires on it, not R comps. So my grip is going to be a bit less, and it's now raining in the desert at Willow Springs. So this should be interesting. Let's see if we have grip in the wet. It's getting a little slick out here. I prefer the dampening in this one, for sure. The damping is just, it's better here because this track isn't perfectly smooth. It's got some bumps in it. You know, the other car happens to be geared great for this track, but this car I'd probably rather own as a road car. And the shorter gear ratios make it feel pretty quick. The black car is a little faster in a straight line, but I do have to say, both the cars, just an absolute pleasure to drive quickly. So, do I prefer first gen or second gen? I think I prefer second gen. I like the 6-speed, especially on the road. I don't think the power steering really takes anything away from the car. On the track, I prefer that older car because it's just so sorted and sticky and fast, and it's harsh, but you can be harsh on the track and that's still okay. On the road, I'll take this with its softer dampers and its more forgiving steering. These cars have aged so well. It's a very good way to buy a car that you can modify a bit without really ruining the value of it, and that'll be reliable. I mean, the NSX's real shining quality is reliability. This one has 90,000 miles on it. The other one has 110,000 miles on it. A lot of NSXs you see with miles on them, and that's for good reason. They work. People aren't afraid to drive them. And I wouldn't be afraid to drive this. I would buy this car and I would drive till the wheels fell off.
Now that I've owned this car for nearly 10 years, I really learned that I really just love to drive it. You just want to get in it, you just want to turn the key, you just want to drive it. It's finally gotten to a point where it is reliable, it's ready to go out of the box. You know,
Be friends with Regan, and he'll always have a car for you to drive that you don't have to build yourself.
You guys need a buddy with a twin turbo NSX.
We do.